Good morning, all of you. I am Bashar Manopriya, Workshop Coordinator of FETSAC 2026. On behalf of the FETSAC, I warmly welcome you all to the pre-computer workshop 2 of the FETSAC 2026. We are truly honored to have Dr. Diana Kumari with us today as our resource person. She is mathematical and philosophy of engineering and faculty senior lecturer Faculty of Engineering, Open University, Sri Lanka. She is holder BSc Special Degree Mathematical and Finance honors from the University of Colombo and a PhD Mathematical Modeling also from the University of Colombo. The academic expertise and experience make this session extremely valuable for all of us. Next, I would like to welcome to Dr. Dilani Vijayaratna, Academic Chairperson of the FETSAC 2026 and all academic members. Next, I would also like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants who have joined us today. Once again, welcome to Pre-Conference Workshop 2, FETSAC 2026, and we wish you all a productive and enjoyable session. Thank you.
Thank you, Bashita. So we are in this session that is regarding the qualitative versus quantitative. That is actually, we want to choose the correct method for research. So choosing right approach to this is on the qualitative versus quantitative we are going to talk. So before going in detail with the qualitative versus quantitative, first I will actually discuss about the content that we are going to discuss today. So we start with what do we mean by, and then we will discuss research in engineering and industrial field, because you are in the field, you are in the faculty engineering and technology. So engineering technology. So there we are having 3 programs. I hope all of students are in here. So then BSc honors engineering and also the industrial characteristic of research, and then our main part regarding qualitative versus quantitative. Then we discuss about the research design associated with the qualitative and quantitative research. And then at the last, how we choosing the right approach in research will be discussed. So carried out to discover new knowledge or solve any problem, real world problem. And sometimes you may improve the existing systems and support decision making. So if I give some example, when you're doing some research in engineering field, you may construct something. No? So it may be something existing, but you want to improve the system. Then you will test new procedures, new mixtures, like that. You are doing something new. So that is discovering new knowledge, as well as you are improving the existing system. And also in some research, you already identify some problems are there in the existing system. Then you want to see how you're going to solve these problems. So then you identify that is as a research problem, and then see how you're going to solve this one, whether there is a limitation, those things you are studying. So that's why we are saying research is a systematic, organized process of inquiry carried out to discover new knowledge, and it may be solve some problem or improve the existing system or support decision making in the field. So in simple terms, research is a careful way of finding answers to question using evidence. So you have to keep in mind, evidence should be there if you're doing the research. Just saying some case studies and saying some examples are given and this is the way you are solving, that is not a research. research should having some evidence. Otherwise, it is just some exam. So sometimes some student may doing research, just giving some example and this is the answer for this question. That is wrong. So you have to carefully study in a process, systematic process and organized process to give the answers for that problems with the evidence. So then when we move to the research in engineering and industrial fields. So I choose this topic as 3 programs are there in our faculty. The software engineers are there, BC engineering honors students are there, as well as industrial studies program students are also there. So then when you talk about the engineering and industrial discipline, research that you have done. So then we can see what we have done as the research. Give me some examples. I hope you are in the final year. You are doing the research or not? So just give some example of your research, then I can explain easily. That's all.
I'm doing my final year research it's about analyzing three level power system and present the problems that's issue
Okay. So when you're doing that research, your research is on the power system in Sri Lanka. So why you choose that research? Yeah. So you choose that because gap between the neatness and the available system. Then you want to see what is the optimized system and what are the problems available and how you're going to solve. So that's why you choose that as a research. So when you talk that one, you can see here I have given some categories. Improve the product quality is one of the objective in the research. So let's say textile engineering. So there, if you want to manufacture, if you want to develop a new textile material, then you want to see how the product quality. So then there you are having a research problem. I hope that, because I'm not expert in textile, but I hope that is thing you are doing in the textile engineering also. Then increase the efficiency and the productivity. So in your example also, you want to see the very efficient system, power system. But available system is not efficient now. So you have to see what are the problems available and whether it is possible to solve them. Otherwise, you have to see why we are not able to possible to solve them. So then we can identify at least the problems available. So that is also research. So then reduce the cost and waste. In the production stage, you can see there are some production, but cost is very high. Then you are having problem. So how are you going to reduce the cost? So that is also a problem. Enhance the safety and sustainability. Especially in engineering field, you have to see how you can enhance the safety and sustainability in the system when you're doing construction and like power system, those things. Then last, understand the user and the market needs. So then when you talk about the industrial research, you have to see who are the users, who are the customers, and what is the market needs available, and how you're going to provide, how you satisfy your customers. Those things are associated with the last category. So you can see there are more actually. These are some examples that you can follow up as the research in your field. So you can identify some problems related to these disciplines in your talk. So these are some examples. Improving the strength of the construction material. So that is some kind of experimental research. Just you have to see whether your mixture will be changing and see whether strength is going to improve. Those things you can test. Then designing efficient software system. Why I am saying designing an efficient software system? We are having software systems. Let's say banking industry. They are having software systems. But we have a problem whether it is efficiently run. So that's why day to day we are observing that changes available in the software system because they are researched and they will see the how it can reduce the running time. So those things they are thinking about. Okay, so in the software industry, that's why it is improving their qualities as well as the improving the systems in the software industry. Then optimizing textile production process. So you have to study the process available in the textile field, and just you have to see whether there are some gaps and whether there is a situation that you can optimize the system to get the efficient system. So that is also one of the example related to the textile industry, and increasing agriculture yield is also there. So there you can test new fertilizers which can improve the yield. So those things also we are doing as the research. So then we already discussed what are the research available in engineering as well as the industrial field. Now I move to the key characteristic of the research. Problem is that you all study these problems, but whether you have done the research or not, that is the problem. Because most of the students just get an example, they think they want to improve the agricultural yield for some plant, but they are not following the proper facility. Just you give the new fertilizer and see the output. So that is not research. You have to see what is the systematic flow that we have to follow, that kind of research. Research to research, it is differ, but we have to see following the logical process when you're doing the research. And then we have to identify the objective of the your research and based on the evidence and not the opinion. Why I highlighting here not the opinion? Some of the students or the researchers saying that the conclusion is based on the opinion. So that is not the research. They have to provide the evidence how they achieve this objective and saying that this is the evidence that we are having, this is the outcome. So like that, you are not able to provide the opinion of yourself. Just you have to see the objective based on the evidence that you are having. So then research should be scientific. They use the appropriate methods. I hope in your research, when you're doing the research, you are having the component called methodology. So there you are discussing what are the methods you will be used or use. So there you have to identify whether I am following the correct methodology. So research to research, these methodologies are changed. So based on the qualitative and quantitative, you have to identify the correct methods or the methodology. Because quantitative research are having some specific characteristics, as well as the qualitative research are having some specific characteristics. So if you use the methodologies in the quantitative technique to do the qualitative analysis, that is true. So when you talk about the data available in your research, also having some data types. So based on the data types, you have to identify correct methods. So then when you talk about the key characteristic of the research, last one is the replicable. So that is actually your research can be repeated by others. So they can reuse your findings for their research also. They reuse and see whether their results are changing based on your results. So that's why when you talk about the research, it is a circular process. The findings will be regenerated in other way, or they will be used for another research. It is going on. So these are the four characteristics available for the research. It is systematic, objective, scientific, and replicable. So now we focus on our main part. Qualitative versus quantitative. So I just give an example. I want to see is someone is there just doing some research based on a survey. So in our research, are you collecting some data? So do you have identified data having two types, quantitative versus qualitative? Did you identify? So what is the difference between qualitative versus quantitative? So when we analyze the data, where we are having the qualitative characteristic, in the same method that we can use as for the quantitative characteristics. No, that's the problem in many cases we are having. For example, sometimes you will having data, let's say simple example, the variable is male, female is the output. And you just coded it as 1 and 2. And then at the end, you are getting the average. So what is the average of mean and mean? So that's the problem we are having, because some of the students, they don't care about what they are having. They just doing what they are know. That is actually, if you know the average, just you want to calculate the average and this is the average. Likewise, they are giving. So that is wrong. So first you have to identify what are the data you are having. Based on that, you are going to analyze them. So the data which having the qualitative behavior cannot be analyzed with the methods that we can analyze in quantitative behaviors. So meaning of quantitative, we are starting here. The word quantitative comes from the word quantity. So meaning the So it can be quantitative refers to the numbers. The quantity is the measurements, counts, numerical values. So if something can be measured or counted, it is quantitative. So in your data set, if you are having some number or the counts or the numerical values it's represent, that is quantitative data. But we are having numbers as the whole. Just male and female, we give the 1 and 2. Their numbers is there. But the meaning of the numbers is not available there. So that's why we are saying that quantitative refers to the that discuss about the quantity we are having. It may be measurement or the count they are having. Here, simple examples we are given. So length is 5 meters. So that having a quantity representing temperature 30 degrees Celsius, and the yield is 2.5 tons per hectare, and the response time is 200 milliseconds. So those are some examples as the quantitative variables. So then we move to the meaning of qualitative variables. So the word qualitative comes from the word quality. It discusses about some quality available there, meaning characteristic and nature. So qualitative refers to the descriptions, opinions, experience, perceptions, behaviors. So with the qualitative research, we are going to discuss some opinions of the our observers and the experience they are having and the perceptions and the behaviors within the So those are the qualitative factors that we are going to address in our research. In sometimes is described using the word rather than numbers we call the qualitative. So here I give some example. User satisfaction. So user satisfaction. So you want to see the system user satisfaction. There you will ask the question high, low, or moderate, like that. You are asking question. So they are rating your user satisfaction. So that is the qualitative mean. Then comfort of a and how it is user friendly. So those they are the questions they are having. So you are evaluating this. That is also in the field of the software engineering. So qualitative research are also available in the software engineering and engineering field. So the farmers' perception of climate change. You know that when you talk about the agricultural field, some of the farmers know that in next week we are having the rain. So they are planning on that. So that is also a research problem. How their knowledge can be used for getting the higher yield and those things. So then now you know about the qualitative versus quantitative. Now we're going to combine it for the research. So qualitative research versus the quantitative research. So what is quantitative? Sorry. So what is quantitative research? So quantitative research is a research approach that collects numerical data or that collects the quantities and use statistical or mathematical analysis and test hypotheses and theories. So here we focus on the statistical, but you know that in engineering research you are having some modeling you generate some analysis is done in mathematically, that is also going under the qualitative research, quantitative research. So when you talk about the quantitative research, purpose of this research is to measure, to compare, to predict, and to generalize the results. So keep in mind that quantitative research are just they are measuring something and we are see whether these measurements are going and whether we can compare them and we can predict the future. So those things we are doing under the quantitative research. And at the last, that is the generalize the results. In the qualitative research, we are not able to generalize the results. But in the quantitative research, we are able to generalize the results. So we get the idea why we are not able to generalize the results in the qualitative behaviors. So we will discuss, but these are some examples in the field engineering, software engineering and industrial studies for quantitative research. So in engineering, measuring comprehensive strength of concrete is the quantitative research and calculating the power efficiency of machines. So those are going after software engineering, measuring execution time of algorithm and the counting number of software defects. So those things are going after quantitative research. So when we move to the industrial studies, in the textile field, the fabric strength, defect percentage, and in fashion, you can see the sales volume, size distributions. So when we study the crop yield and the soil which moisture content in the agriculture, so that is also going after quantitative research. So then we move to the what is qualitative research. So qualitative research is a research approach that collects non-numerical data. So now you already know qualitative means that we are talking about some quality. So non-numerical, if you collect non-numerical data, it is known as the qualitative research. Focus on the understanding, meaning and the context of the situation. It explores the human behavior and experience. So just the purpose of this qualitative research may divided as the to explore, to understand, to interpret, or to explain the reasons behind that scenario. So those are the purpose available as the qualitative research. So these are some examples in the three different fields as the qualitative research. You can see in the engineering, understanding the safety behavior at the construction sites. So you can do some survey and see how they are following the safety behaviors in the construction site, and that is also research in engineering. I studied the maintenance culture in factories, and when you move to the software engineering, explore the user experience of mobile applications and understanding the team communication issues. So those are going after qualitative research. And industrial studies for the textile manufacturing, there you can see what happened if one operator is operator challenges are there. So when we study those operator challenges, you have to follow some qualitative analysis. And so let's say if you want to see that one employer is moving to other factories. So what we have is also qualitative research. So when we move to the fashion, the consumer preference and the trends. So when you analyze the consumer preference and trends, so that is based on the qualitative factors. And agriculture, the farmers' adoption of the new technology. So we know that in Sri Lanka, it is very difficult to get the farmers concerned about the new technologies. So then we can see what are the feedbacks on farmers based on the new technologies, and see how it is affected with the production. So those are going as the qualitative research. So then these are the key differences, qualitative versus quantitative research. So when we talk about the aspect, the nature of data, in quantitative it is numerical as we discussed. So qualitative research, we are having descriptive. So they provide some descriptions about the those data. Then main focus in the quantitative, the measurements are there. But in the qualitative research, it just for understanding. So then quantitative research, the sample size should be very large, more than 100 we prefer. But for the qualitative, it can be having 30. And when you talk about the analysis in the quantitative research, it may be so for the analysis in the quantitative, we use some statistical or the mathematical procedures, theories. And for the qualitative research, it is thematic, and it's use some other methods actually we have to analyze. And outputs for the quantitative research will be numbers, graphs, and the analysis is going with the numbers actually. So outputs are coming as the numbers. And qualitatives, we are having some themes or the explanation about our findings. So this is the difference between the qualitative and the quantitative. So now we focus on the research defines associated with the qualitative and quantitative research. So when you design the research, so you have to see, as I said, whether it is a qualitative or quantitative. So based on that, you have to design your research. So for the quantitative research designs are actually they are structured and pre-planned. So they can pre-plan about the research in the quantitative nature. But when you talk about this planning process, we are having three kind of planning or the design. The first one is the experimental design. So research experimental design is having when you test something new. So you want to see the new procedures, so the researcher control the variables. And there are, let's say the example, you want to test a new fertilizer for the agriculture field. So you will see how what amount is the optimum value that you have to allocate. So then you will test the 3 levels of the fertilizers, and you use some replications and see the effect of this fertilizer on different natures. So then that's why we say that in the experimental design, researcher control the variable. So level of the fertilizer, it is controlled by the researcher. And how much replicated they are using. It is the design based on the researcher. So he or she control the variables in the experimental design and used to test cause and effect relationships. So based on the variable that we are studying, they will see what level is optimal results they are receiving. So based on their control variables, they can identify, they can test the effect on the relationships. So these are some examples. The testing strength of concrete with different mix ratio. So when you, if you want to see the strength of the concrete for different mix, so you will have 3 kind of mixtures are there, and you have to use for 3 kinds of mixtures some replications. The same mixture you use 5 replications. So if you are having 3 mixtures, then altogether 15 concrete mixtures are there, and then you see what will happen in each mixture. So then that is doing as the testing strength of the concrete with the different mixture ratio. So that is the experimental research, and you most strength one. So they're comparing the performance of 2 algorithms. So you are doing same thing with 2 algorithms, and you want to see which will be the effective. So then just you see run the 2 or 3 programs with the same algorithm and see which one. Then when we move to the next design, Cauchy experimental design, is similar to the experimental design, but full control is not possible. So that is actually in the experimental design, we are doing the experiment. So then we can control variable. But here in the Cauchy experimental design, we are not doing experiment itself, but it is available and we are studying. So in that case, we don't have the ability of controlling the variable. That's why we are saying it is some kind similar to the experimental design, but we don't have the full control in the variables. So comparing productivity before and after new machinery installation. So in a production flow, if you replace a new machinery, and if you want to see which one will be the most effective, just you have to use the data available, but you don't have the control that variables available, because before and after you are collecting data. So that is in the factory they are using. So then that is going as the Cauchy experimental design. So next one is the survey research design. So there they use some questionnaires with close-ended questions. So here the close-ended questions means the open answers are not there. Just direct answers are there. What is your age? That is 12 or 15. Like that, direct answers will be there. So close-ended questions are going in the quantitative research. So here we use the large samples and examples are serving farmers on the fertilizer usage, what amount of the usage they have used. So those are quantities we are receiving and collecting different data from the multiple factories. So same production in multiple factories, we have to see the defect level. So then we collect the data on the defective items. So that is doing some survey research. So these three are the main research designs in the quantitative research, when we talk about the quantitative research, the mathematical modeling also they are in other hand. So they are actually, we are not just collecting the data, we are doing some modeling with the use of theories, we are going to develop those models. So then we move to the qualitative research design where they are flexible and involving. Four designs are there. Here the case study design, the first one. So here the researcher control the variables. So this is some kind we can say they we are studying some cases. So let's say in this example, the detailed analysis of the failed bridge project. So you are having that failed bridge project and you have to see what are the factors affecting to the fail of that project. So there you study that case study only, but you can't apply those results for your another research because those factors are affecting to that project only. So that's why we are saying that qualitative to generalize. So it is only based on the same project. So studying one textile factory is workflow. So we know that textile factory workflows are changing factory to factory. So one part we cannot be generalized for other factory. So this is some case study. Just we identify some cases and study well what are the factors affecting, what are the problems there. So those are going as the case studies. It is saying that one kind of qualitative research available. Then phenomenological design. It is similar to experiment, but full control is not possible. So this is just saying that we are concerned about the data with the particular persons or the objects available in that study. So examples you can see engineer experience working under the tight deadlines. So there we are collecting the qualitative data whether they are okay to work under the tight deadline or the production is efficient or not because tight deadline are there. So then workers are unhappy. The results will be one question they are having. So we have to study that one. So phenomenological designs mean which are affected to their designs. The farmers' experience with the climate variability. So what they think about will be studying with the farmers. So when there is the flood situation, so we can see what will happen to their behaviors, whether their production is not there. So then we can study how the psychological factors affected to their situation. So those are going this. So then the ethnographic design is there as the qualitative research design. So they observe the people in their natural environment. So observing garment workers on production floors, and studying farming communities' daily practices. So how they are daily working in the production flow. So that is one kind of study. So then are they happy? So those can be evaluated with the qualitative research. And the ground theory design, they develop some theories based on the collected data. So they are they are not use the follow available data. Just based on the case they are having, they develop some theories, developing a model to explain the technology adoption by the farmers. So based on the data collected with the farmers, they develop some theories how they adopt in the farmers. The 50% of the farmers are not like to technology. Like that, they are finding some theories based on their study. So that is, we can say the grounded theory design, but that theory can be applied for that study only because they are not able to generalize. So then, now we discuss what is the qualitative versus quantitative, and then we discuss qualitative research versus quantitative research, and also designing. Just give simple ideas. Now we move to the last part. So that is actually choosing the right approach in research. I focus on the qualitative versus quantitative research. So why choosing the right research approach is important. So this is the basic question before going to discuss the our question. So this is because in research, the quality of the conclusion depends on the suitability of the method. To identify the suitable method, first of all, you have to identify whether your research is in qualitative behavior or quantitative behavior. Based on that, you can see what are the methods that you can apply for your research. So then, a correct calculation using the wrong method still lead to a wrong decisions. As I said, you can get the average of male and female when you use the codings, but it is not the correct method. That is because you didn't identify the nature of your research. So that is the problem you are having. So first of all, you have to identify which nature you are in. Then you have to identify what are the type of data you are having. Based on that, you can identify the correct methods. So therefore, before collecting data, researcher must decide whether you're going for quantitative, qualitative, or mixed version. Because here the qualitative, quantitative, as well as there are some research which having the mixed nature. So in your research, one example we are getting the problems in the power system. So there you will having the quantitative behaviors as well as the qualitative behaviors. So how satisfied with the service given by the power generation system? So the customer satisfaction. Those are also one kind of aspect you have to study. So then that is going up the qualitative behavior. But when we talk about the power generation and those things are going with the quantitative behavior. So combination also possible. So that's why at the beginning you have to identify whether you're going to quantitative, qualitative, or mixed nature. So the decisions depend on the research objective. So you are having the research problem, then you have to identify what are the objectives you are having. Then you can identify what are the type of data you have required, and then nature of the problem you are having. Based on these three factors, you can identify which research you are following, whether it is the quantitative research, qualitative, or mixed version. So here gives some overview of the research approaches. As we discussed earlier, the quantitative research approach focuses on the measurements and the numerical data. It uses the statistic and mathematical models and suitable for testing, comparison, and the prediction. But in the quantitative research, it focuses on the understanding, meaning, and the context. and it uses the words observation and the experiences and suitable for explorations and the explanations. And when we move to the mixed method research approach, it combines the qualitative and the quantitative methods, provide comprehensive and the reliable findings. The common in applied and the interdisciplinary field, like in your field. So then we move to the choosing the approach in engineering research. Here we start with the quantitative research in engineering, which is the dominant in engineering field. So most probably you will use some quantitative research. So then engineering problems often involve physical systems that can be measured or modeled with the mathematical models and those things you use. So most probably most of the research are going for the quantitative behavior. So it is suitable when you measuring performance, testing materials, optimizing system, and if you validate some theories with some products, so those are going as the quantitative research. I give some examples: strength testing of the construction materials and power efficiency analysis in electrical system, heat transfer rate measurements, structural vibration analysis. So those are going as the quantitative research. So why quantitative? Because variables such as force, temperature, voltage, efficiency are numerical and measurable. So that's why most probably the engineering research are dominant by the quantitative research. So then qualitative research in engineering, that is supportive actually for that is for the quantitative research. They will combine with supportive part with the qualitative. Engineering solution also involve human factors. Then when we study those human factors, most probably that component will come in as the qualitative research. So suitable when you study the safety behaviors in the construction field, those things are going as the qualitative variable. When you understand in the maintenance practices, analyzing project management issues, those are going as the qualitative nature. So examples, why workers ignore safety procedures. That is the problem you are having in the engineering field, no? So then you have to study what is the reason for that. They having some problems. They may be having the environment temperature. So then they do not like to use that safety materials to wear. So those things are there. So then we have to study, and that is the path for new research, because you have to think about how we can develop materials that we can use for the safety materials, because available products are not prepared by the workers. So that is also a problem. So engineers' perception of new technologies, decision making under time constraints. So those are going as the qualitative nature. So then my question is, why qualitative? Because attitude, perceptions and the behavior cannot be measured directly using numbers. So that's why we have to move for the qualitative research. So mixed method in engineering, when you use when system performance and human behavior both matters. So there they use the mixed method. Example, measure machine failure rate, interview the technicians and to understand the causes. So the machine failure rate is high. It may be the reason that the technicians are not proper trained. So then we have to get the data on that part also. So that's why here the quantitative is the rate of the failure rate, but qualitative is the data we can get by interviewing the technicians. So in this research, then you are having the mixed nature. So we move to the next one, choosing the approach in the software engineering. quantitative research in software engineering. So that is naturally required both technical and human perception in the software engineering. In the quantitative nature, is suitable when measuring performance and testing materials or the optimizing system, validating theories. So those are the research areas that we use the quantitative data. So here are some example: execution type analysis, the memory usage measurement, defect density calculation, network latency analysis. So those are the some example of the research we use the quantitative data of the quantitative nature. These studies rely on logs, matrix, and the statistic. So then that's why we say that it is based on the quantitative nature. So qualitative research in software engineering, that is actually the solution involved with the human factors. So here you can see the suitable when studying interpretation and exploring team collaboration. So when these kind of behavior. So these are some examples. So why users find the interface confusing, and how developers understand client requirement, communication challenge in the teams. So those are the some example of the research available in software engineering in the qualitative behavior. So software quality is not only about performance but also usability and the user satisfaction also there. That's why when we study the usability and the user satisfaction, you will have in the qualitative research. So here are some examples of the mixed method in software engineering. So quantitative, the machine failure rate, and qualitative, with the technicians to understand the process in the same as in the engineering. So we move to the last one, that is choosing the right approach in industrial studies. So as you know, industrial studies are highly interdisciplinary. So mixed method are frequently be the best choice. So in the apparel technology, the quantitative approach, the fabric strength testing and color fastness measurement, production efficiency analysis. So those are going as the quantitative research approach, and the qualitative, the comfort perception, wearability experience, consumer feedback. So when we analyze those things, you have to go for the qualitative approach. And in mixed nature, the fabric durability test and the user comfort interviews, those are connected with the when you see the new fabric development. So then you can use the mix method. So textile manufacturing also, we are having this kind of quantitative and qualitative and mixed problems. And so actually, when we talk about the fashion designing and product development, this field naturally leads toward the quantitative research supported by the qualitative research supported by the quantitative data. So qualitative research is dominant because trend analysis is there. Fashions are depend on the trend available in general influence on design. So those are some studies under the qualitative nature. And quantitative nature, sales data analysis, size distribution statistics, the market survey ratings are going as the quantitative research. So for the mixed method, it is most suitable. Focus groups of the design ideas and sales performance analysis. Because when you provide the new product, you should have to identify what is required by the customers as well as the what is the new design, focus designs are there. the sales performance analysis both combined give the better results. So then in research in agriculture, so it is both scientific and human centered. So make and mix method is the idea. So for the quantitative research, crop yield measurements, soil nutrition analysis, fertilizer efficiency testing, climate data analysis. Most probably these are going as the experimental research. So then they will follow the experimental design. And in the qualitative research, the farmer's perception on the climate change, adoption of new technology, traditional farming practices. Those are based on the survey data in the qualitative nature. And a mixed method is improvement after new techniques. So then there we have to study the farmers' adoption for the new technique. So both are the quantitative and qualitative is there. So these are some examples, and then so this is how to choose the right approach. This is just decision guide. Use the quantitative research when variables can be measured. Physician and the generalization are required. We move to the quantitative research. Testing hypothesis, those are going quantitative research. But when we having exploring new problems, understanding behaviors and perceptions, context is important. There we can move to the qualitative research. And in the mixed method, the problem is more complex and both performance and the human factors matter. In that case, you can move to the mixed methods. So at the last, engineering and industrial problems are rarely one-dimensional. So the numbers explain what is happening and people explain why it is happening. So then based on your research objectives, you can choose the correct method, but most research, they are having the mixed method where we worry about the numbers which explain the what is happening, and also we worry about the people's concern, that is explain why it is happening. So this is the end now. If you have any questions, then I can answer.
There's no question. We enter our workshop. First of all, thank Dr. Diana Kumari, our research person, for sharing our knowledge and her valuable time. And then I would like to express my sincere gratitude to chairperson of FETSAC 2026, Dr. Dilani Vijay for guidance and continuous support in the making this workshop successful. Then my thanks to all of academic members for their guidance and dedication, and also would work hard behind this event. Without their support, we are not able to have such a successful workshop today. And finally, thank you all for joining today's workshop, and thank you very much.